This is the start of a brand new series. It's going to be the upside down football leagues. So we've taken the Premier League teams, popped them into League Two, and vice versa, and also swapped around the Championship and League One just because we can. So we've gone full on Stranger Things on Football Manager, flipped it all upside down. Let's see what happens. Please do stick around for the rest of this series. We'll do a couple of seasons, every single episode, and in the final episode we're going to go 20 years into the future and see if the league table's kind of worked itself out, I guess. So stick around and hope you enjoy. Please do like and subscribe. It really does help the channel. If there are any scenarios you want to watch played out on video, then drop it in the comments. As you can see from this glorious screenshot, the editors pulled through all of the teams from the Prem into League 2. Beautiful, with a couple of teams who were top of the Championship when I made this video, when I ran the editor. And the Premier League is looking something like this. So these are the bottom 20 teams as of when I ran this editor, which was the Maybank holiday weekend. And yeah, one of these teams is going to be the Premier League champion at the end of this season. So as we scroll through, this is basically League One. We've got the MK Dons in there. And some of the top of League Two, such as Bolton, Cheltenham, et al. So that's the Championship. And League One is essentially the Championship with a couple of big boys from League One, Peterborough, Sunderland. So effectively we're simming ahead to see how long it takes for the big guns to get out of League Two back into the Prem where they belong, and to see if there are any League Two teams that can stick around for, you know, the majority of the save, and anything that happens in between. I mean, do teams like Bournemouth, Blackburn, Barnsley, do they have a head start because they're a league ahead? Or even scrolling up to the Championship, do teams like Blackpool, Bolton, Oxford, Portsmouth, Wigan, can they get into the Prem? And it's going to be a weaker Prem as well, so it's a good chance for them to get into that Premier League and solidify themselves as a Premier League team before all the big boys start to come up, which I assume they will. I've not ran any sims on this at all, so again, like I say to you in all my videos, I'm watching this along with you guys. So let's get ourselves some early season predictions. Again, no idea how this is going to play out. Salford apparently are odds on to win this, with the closest being Mansfield and Walsall at 20-1. Bradford and Forest Green 25s, and Oldham, Exeter, Newport as well. By the looks of things, it's basically anyone's game, save for Salford. I mean, I have no idea what they're going to do in terms of bringing players in, or it's unknown to myself. If we go down to the Championship, so basically League One and a few of the top teams currently in League Two. So we're looking at teams like Wycombe, Charlton, Portsmouth, Ipswich, Blackpool, I won't say MK Dons, Oxford, Wigan. They're all going to be looking for promotion. Down in League One, which is essentially a Championship, with a couple of big boys from the current League One, Bournemouth, Cardiff, Forest, Blackburn. The teams you'd be expecting to fight for promotion to the Premier League once you take away teams like Norwich and Watford, essentially. But even 50-1 goes all the way down to 23rd. So other than Northampton, who I think were 4th in League Two at the time of this, so they're probably one of the more unlucky teams. It's 50-1 all the way down to 23rd place, so it's literally anyone's game. And the big one, so there's 24 teams in League Two, so that means we've had to pinch a couple from the Championship. Again, I think this is probably going to play out like an ordinary Premier League would. Expect some of the big boys to come straight up and probably march through up into the Prem in 4 years. It would be interesting to see where we are in 4 years' time and see if any of the Prem teams from League Two have made it into that Premier League table. And this is I think it's the day before the season starts, so there should be a few transfers. However, it doesn't look like any of the teams are spending any money. All of these are transfers out. I literally can't see any Prem team that's bought anyone at all. So, it still says the finances are rich. The clubs you would expect. Liverpool are rich, City are rich, United are rich. I think they're probably the three you want to be looking out for. But we'll keep an eye on whether or not any of the players want to leave. Players like Pogba, Fernandes, are they going to stick around with the team in League Two? And in comparison, were there any transfers from the new big boys? No, there wasn't. So maybe it's going to take a bit of time for that money to find its way into the pockets of these clubs. Again, I think all the transfers at the moment are a bit skewed. It's mostly transfers out, save for Birmingham. I generally think that might be the biggest fee I've seen paid so far. And no manager movements either. So we'll sim straight through and do a quick recap of the season. And yeah, it's the first season, so basically anything can happen. It's anyone's game. While this is simming through, please do make sure you go and check out my first series. It was the Rangers and Celtic series. We did 5 years and then the 10-year, 5-year reunion after that. Check it out. We had a good laugh. Okay, end of the first year on our Upside Down League experiment. I guess we really should be starting from the top. And the Premier League is done and dusted. Salford could not get the Prem title, even though they were massive favourites. I don't even know where Carlisle were. For argument's sake, we'll say they were there or thereabouts, but they've secured it with 9 losses. Only 50 goals scored. There wasn't a lot of goals scored, was there? Is that just me, or is that's just not a lot for the whole season? Is there a goal difference of 22? There's a lot of closeness in all of the points tallies. Does that even make sense? Is that even a thing? And I feel like it's just because it's the Prem. I'm looking for teams and I don't recognise any of the Premier League teams that's making the Prem table look weird. Hopefully that's not just me. I'm not just chatting rubbish like I normally do. But there you have it. Carlisle champions. Will be playing in Champions League next season along with Grimsby, Salford and Tranmere. That's a good point actually. The English teams are going to get absolutely trounced in the Champions League for the next couple of seasons, subject to who comes up in the next couple of years. But yeah, England's going to have Carlisle, Grimsby, Salford, Tranmere and Colchester all flying the flag. Some of those teams in League Two are going to be playing European football as well. So save for them winning the Champions League or winning the Europa League is probably the only way they're going to get back into Europe. So it'll be interesting to see if the lure of getting back into Europe made them concentrate on the Champions League a little bit more. Europa League, I don't know. But yeah, that is the Prem done and dusted. I mean, even the goal tallies are low. 16-15. Ryan Bowman, with finishing of 12, was the leading marksman for Exeter. And it was the Salford goalkeeper who got the English Footballer of the Year. The Players' Player of the Year. Let's have a look at the Team of the Year. So, a couple of Exeter players, a lot of Carlisle players, the goalkeeper from Salford. Let's leave it at that. Congratulations to Carlisle. It's Mansfield, Newport and Port Vale who are relegated. And the Championship. So Blackpool go up as champions with Wycombe, who were the favourites. and Charlton go through the playoffs. MK Dons in 13th, that's terrible. But at least we didn't get knocked out of the playoffs like we usually do. Commiserations to Accrington. I mean, AFC Wimbledon are finishing above us. Come on. Morecambe, Bolton and Wigan will be playing in League One next season. Shout out to Cheltenham, Swindon, who both stayed up, who are currently in League Two, so great achievement for them. Matty Taylor, Championship Player of the Season, 20 goals in 47 games. There's some good names in that list, isn't there? Let's be honest. And again, 21, 20, 19, 17, 16. Is it just me or is that not a lot of goals? Let's have a look at the... Was there a lot of goals again? I feel like 62 in 46 for the champions isn't great. It could just be me. Maybe I need to look at more league tables. And the championship team of the season, a lot of Wycombe players there, a couple of Blackpool, Matty Taylor up front with Jaden Stockley, two 20 plus goal strikers there, and Jack Stevens in net for Oxford. Let's go down to League One, which is pretty much the old championship. Reading, Bournemouth and Forest up. So no surprises there. Reading 90 points from the season, only 6 losses. So probably the first team that's actually kind of flown away with the league, I would say. So I think at the moment they're the front runners for getting into the Prem and maybe having a little bit of a dominant spell, if not at least hanging around in there until the big boys come up. Lincoln, Sunderland, Peterborough and Northampton. I mean, we didn't hold much hope for Northampton, but quite surprised at Peterborough, Sunderland and Lincoln as well. They may be the 4 that actually stayed in the league from real life League One. So those 4 probably got the worst kind of luck of the draw, as it were. They didn't move up. They stayed where they were, but then they got 20 teams from the league above playing against them. So, sorry. Other than that, no huge surprises. Perhaps Barnsley finishing quite low, Hull finishing quite low. Player of the Year was John Swift. Team of the Year, Harry Wilson, Lewis Cook. Cauley Woodrow, 21 goals from 45 games, up front with Lucas Zhao, so some good quality players here. 3 of the 4 Bournemouth back 4, and we'll finish by having a look at the top goal scorers. Some big names there, a lot of goals. Yeah, I feel like there's more goals this season in this league than any other league. Maybe it's just the quality of players, I don't know. And last but not least, probably the one you've all been waiting for. Sky Bet League 2 champions are Liverpool, followed by Man City, Man United and Chelsea in the playoffs. So yeah, there's the goals we're looking for. It might just be to do with quality. 99, 97, 86, 82, Arsenal on 89. We'll see what happened in the playoffs. Southampton, Everton, beaten by Chelsea and Arsenal. And then the final, Chelsea on pens. So it would have been a bit of an injustice had they finished off so far behind but still got promoted. So the 4 best teams went up. Liverpool, Man City, United, Chelsea, they're going to start their charge for the Prem. West Brom, those of you who watched the Scotland save, now they're now in non-league football. And Brentford went down with just the 7 wins that season. So interestingly, Danny Ings was top goal scorer, which was probably why Southampton finished in the playoffs. Mane, Dele Alli with 20 goals. Sterling, Wood, as we've seen, likes a goal or 2 in this game. So some of the usual suspects in there. Van Dijk making 224 interceptions. We got ya. And the League 2 Player of the Year, Harry Kane, who only scored 16 goals. So quiet season for his high standards. Again, averaging above an 8, which is just crazy. He did make it into the team of the season along with James Milner. Fair enough. I was going to say he probably played a lot of games, but only 35. And yeah, your absolute usual suspects. Apart from Diego Jota, who's playing up front. Looks like he got a pretty good crack of the whip, despite only being a fringe player. Wanted by Man City and Borussia Dortmund. That just leaves us to check the European football. This is the last season that England are going to be represented by any half-decent teams. So it might be worth just keeping an eye on what these guys do in the first season in comparison to the next couple of seasons, because I think it's going to be pretty bleak. Quarterfinals, just the one English team. Semi-finals, City going all the way to the final and getting absolutely tanked by Bayern Munich. So that's all she wrote. And in the Europa League, Spurs beaten on penalties. So save for any cup runs that any of the big teams had. We'll check Liverpool, because I think an FA Cup win gets you into the Europa League, so Liverpool will at least be playing in the Europa League, I believe. Don't quote me on that. Perhaps so. I guess we'll see in the next season. So not too much else to report on before we go ahead to the beginning of next season. We'll check the transfers then, remind ourselves who's in each league, and yeah, let's go on holiday. So we've got teams that should not be anywhere near the Prem. In the Prem, getting Premier League money, can they spend that? Can they attract players to come and play in the Prem despite the clubs having low reputations? Can teams like Carlisle, who have just won the Premier League, can they bring players in of a good quality? They're playing Champions League football. And likewise, on the flip side of that, we've got teams coming up from League 2, now playing in League 1. So your De Bruyne's, your Salah's, your Van Dijk's, do they want to be there playing League 1 football? I guess we're going to find out. So let's remind ourselves of the current tables and who's going to be playing where. So I think the best thing to probably do here is just get straight on to the season preview. And we've got Charlton, Wickham again, who I think finished second last season, Blackpool, teams that came up last season essentially. For some reason, Salford have dropped down to 250 to 1 despite being crazy heavy favourites last season. So I have absolutely no idea what's been going on there. We've got Carlisle, who were obviously champions last season. Their finances are now rich. Their reputation is national. I'm not sure if they've been able to bring anyone decent in. They brought Brad Walker in. That's it. So no money spent there. So the big mover was Brian Mbeumo, who moved from Brentford, who did get relegated into non-league, has now signed for Walsall, and that was 8 mil. Ellis Chapman, Cheltenham to Stevenage for just under 6 mil. So a few players, Regan Poole, a few half decent players just starting to make that move up. Helder Costa. I mean, we're starting to see a tiny sway into a bit of quality coming into the Premier League. And if we switch over to the Championship, and Bournemouth are crazy odds, and it's the 3 that came up last season, Bournemouth, Forest and Reading, closely followed by Portsmouth, Oxford, Ipswich, MK Dons, all the teams that we thought would do pretty well last season, and I will obviously just pip to it. So we'll see if any transfers happened here. It's mostly just players out. Alfie Mawson's gone to Forest, so Forest have somehow got a little bit of money to spend. Other than that, Connor Chaplin's gone back to Portsmouth. Zach Jules, Forest Green, Nathan Byrne, Doncaster. It's, yeah, nothing crazy silly happening there. League 1, so this is where things might get interesting. So essentially we've got 4 teams head and shoulders above the rest, and then we've got some pretty weak teams down at the bottom. although they're still giving Wigan, Coventry, Luton, Rotherham 50-1 odds to beat the likes of City, Liverpool, Chelsea, United. I literally have no idea what's going to happen. So, for all I know, they could have lost all their players. So, PSG have already been raiding. They've taken Bernardo Silva and Havertz, two players who clearly don't want to play League One football. And Son's gone to Man City, Tonali's gone to Man City, so clearly not too worried about money at the moment. John Stones has gone to PSG as well, Zuma, Monaco, Mason Greenwood, wow, to Lazio, Shaqiri's gone. So other than the headlines there, nothing too crazy, and definitely not many transfers in. Say for Man City, United spent 4.5 mil, Liverpool spent 4 mil. I think it's just a case of them kind of keeping their players, I guess. And we'll check for some manager movements. Nothing from any of the big guns. And last but not least is League Two. And yeah, you've got the best of the rest essentially. So you Spurs, Arsenal, Leicester, Wolves, Everton, Southampton. We'll see if Southampton manage to keep hold of Danny Ings. And then you've got all of your relegation fodder. So your 4 teams that were relegated last season and your 2 promoted teams there. A huge chasm of quality, probably the biggest so far, especially with the introduction of the 2 non-league teams who are literally just coming up, getting promoted, and then just seeing the sheer madness that's happening. A couple of good away days, but it's probably not going to be that fun. So yeah, we saw Spurs did sell Son to Man City, so recouped a lot of money there. Interleague transfer of Ezri Konsa. Danny Ings went to Barcelona. I mean, he was smashing him in last season, so fair play. Yep, Spurs selling more players. Wolves, West Ham, Brighton, Palace, Pereira gone. Yeah, these teams in League Two who didn't go up last season are suffering. And it's a case of the longer you're staying in League Two, the more likely it is you're going to lose these players essentially. So yeah, I think it's Operation get out of League Two as soon as possible for the best of the rest, and hopefully do what Spurs do and try and recoup as much money as possible so they can keep the likes of Harry Kane, who is still at the club. 3 years left on his deal there. However, he is wanted by Man City, who are only playing in the league above, so they might fancy their chances of keeping hold of him. And Bielsa is being replaced by Keith Hall, is the only headline in the manager market for the start of season 2. So let's just sim all the way through the start of season 2. A quick run through just to refresh your minds. Here are the tables, here are the teams. Make your predictions and we'll go on holiday. Okay, we're back for the end of season 2. Before we find out what's happened, please make sure you like the video. Do subscribe, you'll get notified when we bring out the next episode. Right, into inbox and leagues in focus. And the season favourites Charlton have won the Premier League, not closely followed by Tranmere, Crawley, Stevenage, Wickham and Exeter, who will all be playing Champions League football next season. We say goodbye to Forest Green, Scunny and Leyton Orient. Last season's Premier League winners end up in 13th place, and we'll see how those teams who were representing England in the Champions League did. Genuinely worried. So yeah, probably as we predicted. I mean, they did get a draw. Can we find any more English teams? Grimsby can't beat a point. Any more takers for a point? Tranmere, no points. Well, that's a pretty difficult route to be fair. And was there one more? Salford, no points. Okay, so not great. But we did find Liverpool in the Europa League, who absolutely smashed their way through the group stage. Rangers getting knocked out. And Colchester again with 0 points there. So one can only assume that, wow, drubbing of Roma. Okay, so yeah, they've got Phil Foden. That's a cheeky little signing. And by the looks of things, Calvin Phillips. Not a bad season for League One Liverpool, picking up the Europa League. I guess that means they're going to be playing Champions League football next season. So we came a very long way into that. Let's go back out of here. Premier League. Again, just not a lot of goals. Is it that quality? I'm going to say yes. Otherwise, I'm just going to be questioning it every single time. Andrew Fisher. I mean, he is a good player, but probably not worth 10 mil. Brentford selling a lot of their players to the current Premier League teams. So it's starting to see a little bit more cash thrown around in the Prem. Player of the Year, Cavaliero. So yeah, we're starting to recognise a few of these players as the quality starts to increase slightly. And Mbeumo, the most expensive transfer, made it into the team of the season. So it's mostly just Charlton players, with new signing Ellis Chapman from Stevenage. So let's take ourselves down into the Championship, where you can see there as a bit of a spoiler, Ipswich were promoted. MK Dons, I didn't think it would be long until we got knocked out of the playoffs. Bournemouth go up as champions, absolutely romping at 113 points. Again, here we go. That's the goals I'm talking about. Followed by Forest, again, back-to-back promotions. Reading with a team that missed out this time despite finishing 20 points ahead of Ipswich. So kind of snuck in through the back door there. Cheltenham stayed up again. Newport, Swindon and Port Vale go down. Player of the Year, Scott Fraser. Good little player. Team of the Year. Look at that back five of Bournemouth. I didn't see how much they conceded actually. Scotty Fraser, Longstaff, Sam Gallagher, and Nuno da Costa up front. And transfers. Chelsea making big signings. 26.5 mil there. Spoke about Andrew Fisher. Again, a lot of shipping players out. A lot of these not English teams. Lewis Cook to Man United could be a good one for those guys. But yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. Nothing too crazy there. And down into League One. Already a bit of a spoiler there and there. So Liverpool go up as champions, 129 points. 133 goals scored and only 21 conceded. That's crazy numbers. Absolutely crazy numbers. City second. United miss out despite scoring just one goal less. And Chelsea make it through. The points on this, 120, 120, 118, 114. Then you've got Morecambe down in last position on just the 12 points. Joined by Wigan, Bolton and Luton there. Blackburn doing pretty good to get into the playoffs there. But yeah, it was 4 teams and it was just going to be one of those teams had to miss out. So fully expect United to do the business next season. Keep kind of maybe letting out some of their pent-up aggression on the rest of the lowly teams. So Player of the Year, Kevin De Bruyne. Team of the Year, yeah, I mean, you probably can't argue with that. Look at some of the goal returns here. The goals finally flying in, although not as many as I thought, all things considered. Martial, really the only player to get some kind of crazy goal tally there. 35 and 45 in the league. Phil Foden scoring 24 from centre midfield. Son at now City, 24 as well. Rashford, 23. Tyler Walker looks like a tidy little player, getting himself in and amongst the goals. And transfers. So picked up on most of these. I mean, I mentioned Fernandes not wanting to stay at United. He's gone to Chelsea. They are going up, but That's not really what I meant. Laporte, they could not keep a hold of. It's gone to PSG. PSG must have some absolute crazy team. It's literally the end of the second season. They've been signing pretty much all of the... they've just got a bunch of Premier League players now. So keep an eye on that one as well. They're funding most of this experiment. Johnny Stones is gone. Joe Gomez going to Chelsea for 15 mil. That's a great signing for Chelsea. Cancelo, Scott McTominay's gone to Milan. United dumping a lot of players there. Yeah, I think they just can't afford to keep any of these players, so they've got to go. And they're trying to keep the core players in, I think. And last but not least is League 2. Arsenal and Spurs, I think we probably predicted that. Wolves finishing on the same number of points as Spurs, and Everton just pipping Southampton without Danny Ings to that last promotion spot. So we've still got the likes of Southampton, Leeds, Villa, Leicester low down, and whipping boys, minus 101 goal difference, 121 goals conceded. Notts County they just came along for the ride. Player of the year was Harry Kane, no surprise there. A few more goals than last season with a weaker opposition, I guess. And again, strictly ex-Premier League players and transfers in the bottom league. It looks a lot like they're just shipping those players out for big money. Spurs turning some of that Son money, putting it to good use actually. Ferran Torres and Calvert-Lewin in. City signing Ward-Prowse. We saw Calvin Phillips go to Liverpool. So a lot of interesting transfers happening in this at the very least. So it's worth keeping an eye on the transfer market here. And Brendan Rodgers was sacked. Sarri in for Leicester. Still in charge now. So I think that pretty much takes us to the end of season 2 and the end of this video. So thank you so much for tuning in. Please do like and subscribe. It really does help the channel. Make sure you stick around for the next episode. It will be coming up shortly.